presentation, thank you for waiting so long, all right, is Hala Amr. So Sister Hala Amr she's actually one of the best students in the scholarship track classes. I think that basically all of her exams are like 99%, right? And then if it's 99%, I'm going to get an email of how did that 1% happen? So when I realized, mashallah, this student is so strong and so good, this student should be teaching. And now, alhamdulillah, after a couple years of taking classes at the scholarship level, now she's teaching fiqh for kids, and she does a very good job at it and very thorough job at it. And when your kids take class with, take the fiqh class with Hala, you'll see that they do a very good job. She's thorough. And like Afnan learned basically, because we're all trying to learn how to get to the student. We're competing against video games. We're competing against a lot of things here, right? So we have to tweak our game all the time, so to speak, and see how we can get to students. Now, Hala has done this as well, and she's going to talk about how she does this class, but her review session is all through Kahoot quizzes, which I think the kids really get riled up on and get excited by. So, Afnan, Hala, take it away.
All right. I've never tried this before, so please just bear with me 1 second. Current slide. All right. Oh my God. All right. Everybody see me? All right. Right. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So basically, welcome to Fiqh for Kids. And inshallah, what we're going to be doing is we're going to divide the classes into 2 groups. Some kids have taken part 1 with me before, so it will be an intro class. And basically, we're going to be covering, it's very heavily focused on Salah and Tahara. And the advanced class is going to be some of the other subjects that we're going to go over in a second. Each class is going to be divided into a live session, which is going to be about 30 minutes. We're going to have a Kahoot interactive game, which the kids have responded really well to. I think it keeps them competitive, and they review the material just so that they can be in the top 5. And then, of course, the Google Classroom. Occasionally, I like to do quizzes. I do like to do kind of like an open book exam. One of the things that we do in the class is we usually go based on Sheikh Shadi's book. And I don't know if it's going to be available in time for the class, but if not, I'll be providing the kids with notes each week so that they can review and go over it with their parents as well, inshallah. All right, so for the beginner class, what we do is we go over what is fiqh, just kind of give them an example of and a little bit of an understanding of what that means. And I think it's important to kind of just define it a little bit for them because it sounds like a fancy word. And they don't always know what exactly is this. Foundations of faith. So we do go over Hadith Jibreel and we do Iman, Islam, and Ihsan, and go to give a little bit of an overview with that. Then we go over the 6 pillars of Iman and what exactly it is that we believe as Muslims and what we're required to believe. We have the 5 pillars of Islam, of course, the conditions of taklif or accountability, the fiqh of tahara, and the fiqh of prayer, which is actually a big bulk of the class, and it's probably the most important topic that we go over. There's a lot of detail in fiqh of salah because we do go over things like Jum'ah, Janazah prayer, the conditions for each, and there's a heavy emphasis on things that are obligations, things that are nullifiers, things that are sunan, how to correct ourselves in certain situations. The advanced class is going to review all of that, and we'll probably do that primarily through Kahoot. It's one of the things I like to do is I kind of include it in the games. They review these topics, and it kind of keeps them sharp. And if there's something, one of the things I also do is if you've ever seen the Kahoot, when you play the game, when you get an answer wrong, you see like, okay, all the different options, and I try to explain why this is the wrong answer, why this is the correct answer. So while I'm actually going through the game, I provide commentary. So we go through and then we move on to the next question. And then we're going to be doing new topics as well. So we're going to be doing in the next section, it's going to be fiqh of fasting, fiqh of zakah, fiqh of hajj, fiqh of food, and manners of a Muslim. Now, if your children have never taken fiqh formally before, I would recommend starting off with the part 1, because one of the things I did notice in my last class is even though a lot of children had gone to Islamic schools, there were gaps in some of their understandings, and it was good to have an opportunity to elaborate a little bit more on it. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't taken it, if their children haven't taken it before, to do that. If you have older children who would be interested in sitting in and just kind of listening, this is a great review. I mean, honestly, I recommend for everyone, every couple of years, everyone should review fiqh, because it's one of those things where there's always little things that slip through the cracks and you kind of forget about them. But I definitely think the only downside for older kids listening in is that this is a PG version of fiqh. So there are topics of puberty and ghusl and things like that that I don't go over. But if you let me know if there are older kids who, are just following along with us, I might be able to provide maybe a little bit of notes or anything for some of the topics that we glance over. But I do think it's important that, kids, I know it's like a dry topic. It's not necessarily the most fun for kids, but it's really, really important. And again, it's one of those things where we build. We start off one year, we're, doing these subjects. They might forget and remember 50% of it. And then the next time they take it, they remember a little bit more, and the next time a little bit more. So, I mean, that's the kind of the methodology that we're implementing. And in the meantime, we want to have them have a positive interaction with the topic in the class. All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me if you have specific questions during the class. If you're parents and you want more information and you feel like you don't understand something, or you want to review something with your children and you're struggling, just please reach out. Like, this is a joint effort. I highly recommend that the parents, keep on top of what their kids are learning. Sometimes it's good review for the parents even. So if you have any questions, again, please reach out to me. And I think that is it for my end.
Thank you very much, Hala. And this class, mashallah, I've seen students and heard back from parents they benefit a lot from the thorough review that occurs every week. That's the most important part. And I think the most important other important part that you mentioned is gaps. Many people have come to me, oh, I don't want to take wudu again. And I have some students who are famous for this. I can't believe we have to study wudu again. And I did it already. Okay, well, name me everything that breaks wudu. And they can't do it, right? Or name me the obligations versus the sunan, and they can't do it. So very much like tajweed, people think that they're only learning tajweed when they're reciting and not realizing it's when they're listening. Same thing with fiqh. There are gaps in everyone's
knowledge. A lot of gaps. Like, I mean, I definitely noticed that, like, there are even, adults who don't know anything about sajdat as-sahw, and like, that's important. Or, they'll think you can make wudu with pool water, or, something like that. It'll be something simple, but it's one of those things where, like, these are such, especially tahara and salah, like, so important, because it's like our daily lives, like 5 times a day. This is like your salah counting. So I think it's really important that, like, we review, especially fiqh of salah, like, every so often. And again, if the parents have any questions about something that I'm teaching, or they want, like, further elaboration on something, I'm happy to, to provide it. And again, I know, like, there have been a number of parents who've reached out about older kids. And my older son is 14, and he sits in sometimes and he listens in. And I know that there are things that are missing, and I fill in those gaps myself. But it's still, the majority of the information is something that any age can benefit from, inshallah.
And for students that took Hala's class last semester, they basically would take the advanced class.
Yes. So if you've taken either with myself or Brother Ali, or I believe Sister Yusra also taught it last semester. Yep. So if you've taken classes with any of us, inshallah, I would recommend taking the advanced class. If you haven't, then I would really recommend starting off from the very beginning. Again, it's going to be a review, but there will be gaps. I almost get, like, almost all the kids in my last class had gone to Islamic school, and I still noticed that there were gaps in what they knew. So definitely recommend that, inshallah.
All right. Thank you very much, Hala.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. And that basically